Okay, guys, welcome back to the process where I show you people, fans, friends of the channel, how I created some of my legendary, awesome, epic, once in a lifetime beats. I'm really propping myself up here. Okay, so today I am going to be showing you guys how I created the wonderful dope ass beat that I made for Couldn't Say Hello. Now, this is one of my favorite beats to one of my favorite songs. What I would say is my best song ever to date, to be quite honest. So let's get right into this beat, shall we? So what should I start here? So let's look at what I used to make the beat first off. Let's start off here. So I might have explained this in a previous episode, but I tend to organize. Oh God, looking back, this was kind of sloppy actually. Wow, it's a miracle this beat turned out so good. Oh man, but I tend to organize my beats like so. So the first few samples or sounds would be the actual melody, like pianos, synthesizers, pads, whatnot, the flutes, organs, that sort of thing. It's the actual melody, the what I consider to be the core of the beat. That's usually what I start off with, and then below that I'll usually have my snares, and then below that I'll have in fact, just to give an example here, right? Oh wait, let's go to the pattern. So it's these kind of sounds. That's what I start off with. The synthesizers and whatnot. As you can see, I use Nexus to. I found this particular sound in Nexus. And right here you have an organ. And then I have a second one here. I think this one was I put it through a filter to take away some of the high end. That's why it sounds more bassy. But that's how I typically organize my beats. It'll be the actual synthesizers and sounds, the melodies up top. Then I go down to snares. What the hell? And then below that, I'll have the hi-hats. Over here, you can see the actual, the mixer. This is where you can apply different effects to the different sounds that you have in the channel rack here. So you look at these hi-hats, for example, you can hear kind of an echo on it. That's because I put a reverb here. I use reverb 2. That's what that shit look like. This ain't what reverb 2 look like. How the hell did I fuck that up? I also put a gate on it for some reason in Gross Beat. That's weird. Okay. So I'm just going through the sounds here that I use. More hi-hats. And this is kind of odd. So these are more snares. Going back, the interesting thing about this beat is that normally my patterns would be 4 bars, but these are 2 bars because you can tell because I got 2 snares on this particular pattern. Typically it'll be 4, but I guess I kind of got a little cocky once the beat started coming together. So because usually I'll start with a 2 bar setup, and then it'll transition into a 4-bar setup. So typically you would see 4 snares on a pattern like this, but it's 2 because I didn't feel the need to. But that's actually kind of unusual for me. So right here you have the kicks. These are the kicks that I use in the early part of the beat. Some more kicks here. I'm sure you guys recognize that. And right here, this is how I gave the kicks that really bassy sound. Sometimes I stack kicks and snares on top of each other because it can give it a more dynamic sound. It can liven it up a little bit. Sometimes when you just use one snare or one kick, that can be fine. But what you'll find out is that when you layer like different sounding kicks on top of each other, you can create a new sound like that. When you layer different hi-hats and snares on top of each other, it can give it a new sound and really breathe new life into the beat. So I do stuff like that sometimes. And I think these are the 808s coming up. Dun, 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 dun. So these are just the 808s that I use. I don't think I did much. I don't think I did much editing on the 808s in particular. As you can see here, I lowered the high end so that it would pretty much just give complete focus to the bass side. I would mess with it, but I'm afraid I might fuck it up. Now, you might not hear a difference here, but you can see it on the equalizer. You can see that on the high end side, on the right side, you can see it lighting up slightly when the 808 hits. That's why I lower it. You see? In fact, yeah, you can actually hear it if you pay attention. It's a difference. When I lower it, it cuts off some of that clicky sound of the bass, and that's because I'm lowering the high end. And so this is something else you want to do when you make beats. If you have a particular sound and you know it's one, the focus is, you got to know what frequency that particular sound dominates. So this is an 808, this is a bass, so it dominates the low end frequency of the beat. So you don't need the high end typically on an 808 or bass. If anything, it'll just get in the way, because you got to understand is that sound frequencies are limited on any sort of musical work, whether it's a beat or song or whatever. So you got to make sure that different sounds aren't taking up unnecessary space in the frequencies. So this bass here, I got the high end lower, so it doesn't get in the way of other high ends that are necessary. Because again, the bass doesn't need to take up any space on the high end, because it dominates the low end frequencies here. Just to give you another example, if we go up, let me see, if I had so these are the hi-hats. I don't know if I didn't mix the hi-hats. Lazy me. Maybe did I mix I didn't, man, that's what I'm saying. I didn't mix the hi-hats, the snares, and it all just came together. Let me see. Well, I would use it as an example. Oh, okay. So maybe here. Okay, so you look at this. Now these are the snares, right? Now I didn't mix this a lot, but I did a little bit of EQing here. But as you can see, I lowered the high end somewhat. No, I mean I lowered the low end somewhat because it's not necessary. Because snares typically dominate the high end, and sometimes the mid area of the sound frequencies. So as you can see, I lowered the low end so you wouldn't have unnecessary noise there, because that makes more space for the bass. So I lower this. You see? And that's just something that you want to play around with. And sometimes I'll raise the high end here because, again, that's where the power of the snares lie. The power of a snare and hi-hats typically lies in the high end and maybe a little bit towards the mid, depending on the kind of sound that you want. You know, if you're going for like a lo-fi kind of beat, then you might want to raise the mid on the snare a little bit, because that gives it kind of that it kind of gives it more of a smothered sound, which is kind of what you want when you're making like a lo-fi kind of beat. But you know, here you can see I got the high end raised a little bit just to give the snare more brightness, just to give it a little bit more oomph. It'll stand out a bit more in the beat when you do that. But that's just a quick lesson on the sound frequencies. Going back to the bass in particular, though, you can see the bass line is very simple in this song. It's not really anything crazy. It's really simple. And I got this 808 from the Suicide Boys sound kit. Let me see. Load sample. Yeah, I got this from the Suicide Boys sound kit. And it's really one of my favorite 808s to use. And typically what you'll see with me is that I have different patterns for the bass lines. You know, just so it doesn't get too repetitive. I have different patterns for the bass, and just to be able to mix it up every now and then. I use this like towards the end, I think. And I used that when the beat was transitioning to the second part of the song. Got my reverb cymbal there. I just noticed that I have two cymbals here. So I'm assuming that this loud cymbal is probably for the hook, or when it transitions to the hook, and this lower cymbal is probably for the verses, because that's usually how I do it, how I'll have it set up. Oh shit, hold up, I went a little bit too fast there. Okay, and that's just a transition that I got in there just to make the parts of the beat that are moving from verse to hook, or hook to verse, or verse to bridge, to make that transition a little bit more noticeable. You know, you don't want an abrupt change in the beat. You gotta flow into it as the beat changes. You gotta flow into it, right? Sometimes you can do it with a snare roll. I like to use a combination of transitions and snare rolls when I'm going from one part of the beat to the next. So this is just some city ambience that I found on YouTube, just to add a little bit of spice to the beginning of the beat. You can hear a little bit in the background. I didn't turn it up too loud, but you know, sometimes I do stuff like that just to add a bit more life to the beat. I might add some ambient sounds in the background, especially in the beginning, so it's not just the fucking main melody repeating over and over again. And here's some more hi-hats. Okay, so let's actually look at the beat now, start to finish. So this is what I would consider to be the core of the song. This simple organ pattern here, and you can hear the city. You can hear the city ambience in the background as well. It's subtle, but it's there. And about 8 bars in, that's when the kicks kick in and the snares start snaring. Oh shit. So I was using snare 5 here. Again, if you notice that snare, you can hear the reverb on it. And that just gives this particular part of the song a certain vibe. I like to throw reverb on the snares every now and then, depending on what I'm trying to do with the beat. But I always felt like snares with a reverb gives the song a spacey feeling, like a kind of a moody, spacey feeling, like it's like you're just out in the void of space or something. Maybe that's just me, but it's a good tool to use to create a certain vibe that you want for the beat. Even something as simple as whether or not a snare has reverb, I think it does a lot as far as setting up the feel of the beat. Because I think you'll notice that when the beat transitions to the second part, I'm not using the reverb snare anymore. So that again, it helps. It's one of those little things that helps you create the kind of feel that you want for the beat. So this is when the hi-hats kick in. I did not mix them at all, but really didn't need to. Sometimes you don't need to be real. And in the pattern, look at it. It's simple as fuck. I didn't. It ain't nothing special. It's just click, 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 click. That works. That works sometimes. So. But you can also hear that. I got an extra hi hat here. It's the grit hat. I just noticed that too. So even though I have a fairly simple hi hat pattern above that, I did add a little something to spice it up here with the grit hat, and it is equalized. You see that? And as you can see, I got the low end lowered, just like I talked about earlier, because you don't need that on the hi-hat. It'll just get in the way. I got it set around, okay, the high end is even lowered a little bit too. And I raised the mid, really, you could say that's like the mid high area. And again, that's just where I like to play, because I feel like when you're talking about snares and hi-hats, playing around with that mid-high area can give it a different sound. Again, I feel like when it comes to snares and hi-hats, when you raise the mid and lower the high, it gives it more of a lo-fi sound. And when you do the opposite, it's more hi-fi. Is that a word? I'm making that hi-fi sound. You know, when you kind of keep keep the mid level and raise the high. You know, that's typically what you would hear on like a typical trap beat or something like that. But this beat starts off very lo-fi, and that again, this sort of mixing adds to it. And right in this area, you can see the cymbals. I make great use of the cymbals in pretty much all of my beats. They just don't feel complete without them. And this cymbal in particular, if I can find it real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I got this from the TM88 kit. It's a reverb cymbal too, so you can hear it kind of echo in the background. Again, adds to the vibe. And so now the beat is about to transition into the actual main part of the instrumental. And it's kind of interesting, really. Just a short story here. When I was making this beat, that first part that you heard was pretty much the beat. That was it. That was the beat. That first part was the beat. Up until I think I found this sound right here. That sound changed the whole direction for the beat. But before I found that, because I was already kind of like, I already figured out the hook. Like, okay, I knew it was like, okay, couldn't say hello, something. But it was gonna be like just a sad lo-fi song. The way it starts off was pretty much gonna be the way it was. But once I found that sound and added an 808, that was it. It changed the whole beat and the whole vibe of the song. And right now it's transitioning into it. Dun, dun. Hold up. Dun, dun. What is this sound even called? Hold up. Let me see if I can direct y'all in the right direction. What is this sound? It's called AR Ethereal. That's the sound. That dun 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 dun. I found it in Nexus, by the way, or it might be one that I like from a preset pack that I found. I'm not sure though. But Nexus is a great resource for different sounds and whatnot. As you can see, this library is fucking fat. Yeah, so I got it out of the XP Dance Volume 2 folder. And as you can see, AR Ethereal, that's that particular sound. But yeah, Nexus has a lot of good sounds. As you can see, it's got basses, classic sounds, dance leads, epic pads, fantasy and dream, piano pluck, leads, pads, sequences, and all of that. So, you know, Nexus is a great resource for sounds, and you can actually download presets online if you know where to look too. So you can add that to the library. Dun-dun-dun. Hey, hey. I had to vibe out a little bit. But so this is pretty much the core of the beat right here. This is where it really pops off. As you can see, that's when I drop this sound. I pretty much just added that to the organ. And the 808s. At this point, the kicks aren't even there anymore because that 808 from the Suicide Boys kit is really good. It's almost like a combination of 808 bass and kick. You can stack a kick on top of it to give it more punch, but you don't really need it. So the kicks aren't even there anymore. So as you can see, this is where the 808s are right here, and the kicks are gone. Got that same simple hat pattern playing, right? Now the hi-hats are kind of switching up a little bit because I added little extra stuff like right here. Let me see. What is this? Yeah, so this hi-hat one here. Again, just to give it a little bit more spice. That's nice. That's genius. Goddamn. Oh man. And so of course, depending on where you put the actual things here, you're changing the pitch of it. So when you listen to it, these are high and these are low here. So that's another trick that I use when I'm messing around with the hi-hats. I might lower the pitch of some of the hi-hats just to mix it up a little bit. So that's something else you can play around with when you're trying to liven up the beat a little bit. You can play with the pitch of the hi-hats. Oh shit, I fucked up. Actually, that transition there was a bit abrupt now that I think about it. But at this point, I'm transitioning from the verse to the hook. So I dropped, let me see. So as you can see, I took out the snare and the 808s and the hi-hats. Might need a benzo. Now see, check that out right there. These are the cymbals. I got them arranged to kind of, again, leading into the transition. It's like tsh, 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 tsh. See, it's the little things like that that really give the beat that right sound at the right moment. And then I got that XFX right here. I think I got this out of the XX Tentacion sound kick. It's basically just a standard transition. It's nothing special, but it adds. So when I'm transitioning from verse to hook or vice versa, you know, I might stack different kinds of like transitional tricks or tools to just add to that sound of like, okay, the beat is changing. As you can hear it. And I'm sure I probably added some effects to it too. Let's see here. Or rather mixed it and whatnot. So yeah, so this is the transition here. So I EQ'd it a bit. All I did was I raised the high mid a little bit just to give it a bit more, just give it a little bit more life. Sometimes I might lower the low end or lower the high end, just depending on how I want the transition to sound and how I want it to work. You can see here too, I got gross beat and I use the 1/4 beat gate. That's why when you hear it, it's like. Let me see if I can get it solo. All right, so yeah, that's the gross beat doing that. When you turn it off, it goes straight like swoosh. See, it's not skipping. So adding that little gross beat there was just to give it that. Again, that's just another thing you can play with. And I added some reverb. I added a little bit of reverb here, and I had the convolver, but I didn't really use it. I think that didn't really work out. So let's get back to the beat. And so this is the hook. So for the hook, I just added that what's that sound again? This Nexus sound here. The AR ethereal. I just added that on top of the core sound, that organ pad there. Got the snares working. As you can see, I got the snares stacked. They're not mixed, lazy me, but they're stacked. And so that did a lot for it. And that's just what I was talking about. You can see I got the Diller snare and the G snare stacked on top of each other. So even though I didn't mix them, you know, just the fact that they're stacked, it adds that oomph to it. You know, it gives it a more lively, heavier sound, more pop. Got the hi-hats rolling. And as you can see, got the 808s there. And then it changes a little bit at the end because, again, we're transitioning back to the verse. So it goes pretty much straight through like this. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. You know, it's the little things. And so now the verse is kicked in again. And so for a short while here, or for a short bit here, I brought the kicks back, like from the beginning of the song. And if you really notice, this part here is really just the first part of the song, but with the AR ethereal added on top of it. You know, if you mute that, it sounds just like the beginning of the song. See? But I would say this is kind of like a bridge area for me, you know, transitioning back into the verse. Do some hi-hats in there. Back to the verse. And right there, transitioning back into the hook. But the second hook is actually kind of different. Or you can say it's the third, really. But whatever. And so another interesting thing here is that as you see when it's transitioning back to the hook, you see I got the 808 there just at the very end because I'm bringing you see how I'm bringing the bass back, but it's not abrupt by just being like right there on like right when the hook starts. The bass starts before the hook starts, so that I'm easing you back into it. You see, it's all about such an important part of beat making is transitioning from one part to the next. And so you don't want things to just abruptly come back sometimes. So you see, I eased the bass back into it because I took it away for the last part of the verse and I'm easing it back in. Boom, 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 boom. And of course I got the transition there, the XFS transition. I don't know what the fuck that is. Oh yeah, that's part of the melody. Okay. And back to the hook. But the difference with the last hook is that I throw in this sound as well. You'll notice that. See, what's that sound called anyway? That shit saved my life. Damn, hold up. Oh yeah, I gotta click it. My bad. Okay, so that's ARE302. That can't be ARE302. I might be tripping here. I might got something fucked up. Ain't no way these are both ARE3, right? These are not both ARE3. I'm tripping. All right. I might have completely misled the people because that don't make sense. Why would this be ARE3? But they do sound very similar. I don't even know how the hell I got that shit going like that. Oh well, it'll be a mystery forever. Okay. But right there in that last hook, pretty much everything is mixed together. Seems like you missed your chance, man. You fucking pussy. I wonder where she's going now. Getting fucked by alpha males. Whoa, shit. But you can see here, right here at the end of the last hook, I threw in that extra 808 there. It's the little details that matter. And so this is just pretty much the end of the beat. Going back into the verse part to send it off, really. Now, as you can see there, I got the master volume here. That's how I was able to do the fade out there. It's just like, you see, goes out. And that's couldn't say hello. Like, comment, subscribe, join my clan. Hope you guys enjoyed that. See you later. Johnny.